Welcome back to Leck Tech, where technology is made easy. I'm your host, Leck. After looking at feedback from the first episode, there was more praise than criticism. Some of the feedback from viewers I plan to implement in future episodes. I receive from feedback directly from friends in chat rooms and cell phone text-like messages. I consider all feedback. So please send feedback. I'm doing an episode on every major page on my website. I will follow up episodes with newer versions of episodes, and additional content. For example, in a future episode, I will go into more depth with three-dimensional graphics and animation. This is my website. This episode will feature the basics of graphics and the basics of using Blender. I am not teaching animation in this episode. I watched a lot of Blender videos to learn how to use Blender, and most of the videos were less organized and less helpful than they could have been. That's why I'm making this video. You can see topics for future episodes by visiting my website. Almost every link from my main page goes to another page, a subpage. Each subpage will be a different video subseries, all on this YouTube channel. My website is only one page deep, meaning every link from my main page goes to a subpage. There are not links from subpages to more subpages, so it's only one deep, with a few exceptions. You will see everything contained within my website by looking at the first page here. The only subpages beyond one deep are the ones about me, so everything with the computer and technology is linked directly from this page. And that's the main page of my website here. Before we get into the content for this episode, I want to address something I said incorrectly in the previous video. I will start every episode by correcting anything I said wrong in the previous episode. I'm not going to edit these episodes after I finish them, and I'm not going to put pop-ups like most people do on YouTube when there's something wrong in a previous video. You know, like when there's like a chat bubble and you're wondering if the person put that chat bubble, during the video, but it's actually they added it later. Anyway, I may say something incorrect and not realize it until after I've finished recording the video. I don't want to continually re-record these episodes, spending a lot of time, because I want to focus my time on the things contained in the episodes. I don't want to focus my time on making the most polished episodes possible. The focus of my website and videos is not to sell something. The focus is to help people understand technology, save money, and make life easier. I added the slogan to my web series you might have heard, starting with this episode, where technology is made easy. And the slogan for my website is near the top of the page, things you shouldn't have to pay for. So the incorrect thing I said in the last video was, cross-platform means to be able to run any operating system. What it actually is, cross-platform means is the ability to run on at least 2 operating systems, not any operating system. I know it's semantics. I wanted to clarify that because as an instructional video, I want to make sure people can take it to the bank when I say something, because it's as correct as possible. And I do spend time on these videos. That's why I only do one a month. In a year, I plan to redo the CGI and music from the introduction to my web series, which you just watched. The beginning is the CGI. When I redo the introduction, it will be totally different with different music and different graphics. For this introduction, the one I did just now, I added music and graphics hastily, but I will spend more time with next year's introduction to the web series. There are obvious problems with the current introduction, the one you just saw, in the graphics, and not so obvious problems with the music you just heard. This leads us to the topic of this episode. The reason I chose to use Blender as the best software to use for three-dimensional things is because Blender is the best free software to use for three-dimensional things in editing, in my opinion. There is easier free software to use for 3D graphics, but the easier software doesn't have the ability to animate. If you take the extra time to learn Blender, you have access to more features, pretty much all features you'll need for 3D graphics and animation, 3D animation, not 2D animation. There's different, better software for 2D animation, two-dimensional. This is three-dimensional animation. Needless to say, you won't have to learn new software if you ever want to do animation in the future. Everyone has access to Blender. Not everyone has access to paid software. If you have a computer, you have access to Blender. As an aside, I think the best business strategy is to give everyone access to your company's software like Blender did. But unlike Blender did, make it so you limit some things customers will have to pay for. Generally, businesses will do one or the other entirely. So the paid software, like, only a few people get to try, and nobody really knows what's best. Or the free software, they don't really ask for money. They ask for donations, and that works, but, you know, anyway. So the official website where you can download Blender is here, and in the description under the video, and I'll show it here. So any of these are all the links in my video. I haven't gotten to any of the others yet. Okay. Blender will do everything you need to do. That's why I'm doing this video. For 3D graphics and animation. I want to make sure everyone is able to be started in Blender without spending time watching multiple videos to figure things out like I did. Other videos on YouTube are helpful, but rarely does a video cover what you need to know in a concise time frame. Most people don't need to be shown every menu and every option, even the main options. Just a few things that there are significant design flaws with Blender. Getting around the design flaws is essential to help you be able to do simple things like saving your work. If you click on the wrong thing, you are unable to save entirely. You shouldn't have to be an expert with Blender to be able to use Blender and simply save what you're working on. You'd be surprised how complicated it is just to save Blender. Save things. It's like needlessly complicated, which is why I'm making the video. The purpose of Blender software is mainly... Alright, so the purpose of Blender software... That's cool, that changes. Fades. Anyway. Is to use video... Mainly to use videos. Mainly to make videos and pictures. Okay, so you're making 3D animation, you're making videos and pictures. The secondary use for Blender is to make CGI and upload the mesh files into three-dimensional worlds, usually having to do with animation or interactivity. Most people don't do that. I'm not going to cover that. The best file format to save videos is AVI, in my opinion, for a few reasons, which I will not go into right now, but probably in a future video, which I'll cover, like encryption and file formats. You can alternatively, so Blender you can save an AVI and then upload to YouTube, or you can make movie DVD, you can make save and then make, I guess you would save an AVI is the easiest way. There are other ways. And then you make movie DVDs or movie Blu-rays, because there are data DVDs and Blu-rays. What you create in Blender is named computer-generated imagery, or CGI, which is what you see in movies more and more. And even the animated movies now are just synonymous with CGI. They don't use pencil and paper, unless if you're watching anime. Some anime still Japanese animation still uses the pencil and paper CGI. I mean the pencil and paper animation. Here's a good explanation and description of CGI. If something doesn't work, you can't figure out something in Blender, there are usually several other ways to do the same thing. I prioritized and truncated the things I'm explaining in this video to get the most out of the least time, without the risk of falling into irony, because I've given such a long introduction before getting into the content. We will get started with the content now of this video. Generally, I won't do videos that, preface videos this long. I wanted to follow up on some things I didn't say in the first video, and I don't want to make the videos too long, so because people lose interest in videos over 15 minutes, or this might even go over 15. It's too much time for an instructional. So you go to Blender website, you download Blender. It detected my operating system This is how large it is, 84 megabytes, but it might actually grow a little bit from when you use it, you understand, because it uses caches and stuff. So that's just how much the download is. So you download Blender. Here, it started automatically. If your browser, we don't need to do that. So the MSI is like an exe. It's an executable, most dangerous file format. But anyway, I bet the browser checks to make sure. Anyway, so Blender is it. Assume you download. Assume you install. I'm not going to go through that. We're gonna open Blender. I already downloaded, I already installed it. So once Blender starts up, that's my version. It might not even be the newest version for right now. You click or press escape. It might be the any key. Press the any key. Some people ask what the any key is on the keyboard. You tell them it's right below the space bar. Alright, so So if you're using a newer version of Blender, it should look and function similarly to this one. It's going to be they generally keep the same look, especially in Windows 10 is what I'm using. You can tell what Windows it is by the start menu icon up here. It's usually at the bottom left. I just like it on the left because that's what I got used to with Ubuntu and now at Linux Mint. Anyway, I'm making this video longer than it needs to be. If you're using a newer version of Blender, use this video. This episode is more of a guide. So something isn't exactly the way if something isn't exactly the way I'm showing it here, it's probably still the way you do it, but using a different button, or so use it more of a guide. Chances are most of this information in this video will be valid and helpful for years in the future. So in Blender, there are different settings which are poorly set by the Blender developers. Because it's the first Blender video, I want to go through these. I don't know why Blender developers, they must have been high or something. I shouldn't say that because I think they're word bots on videos. But alright, so Blender video, the developers, the creators of Blender, devs, set defaults for everyone, but some are terrible. So I'm just going to hit on the top ones because I'll show. Blender uses right-click instead of left-click to select things. For the life of me, I do not know why Blender developers do it this way. It's like, here's an example. It's just because things are done a certain way in computers and everywhere actually, doesn't mean it was right. Bill Gates gives a speech, or used to, every year, his alma mater, Harvard, and I watched one of them. I watched more than one of them, but one of them, he said something like, I quote, "I know the man who invented Control, Alt, Delete." And that key combination turned out to be a bad idea. However, it's like one of the most popular key combinations. Now even most Linuxes have adopted it. In Blender, left-click isn't used for anything important. It's been standard for the last couple decades to use left-click to select. I don't know why Blender. Anyway, to change it to left-click, you can so you can select things in Blender. So this is the default view. Everything's default. I believe everything's default. Okay. So it's File, User Preferences, and this is 90% of your settings. Well, maybe not 80%. So you make sure you're on Input, and then I have it on left click because I already changed it. It starts out on right click, so I guess it did save it. And then you click Save User Settings, and it doesn't close the window, and then you close the window. I saw another Blender instructional video because I was watching a lot of Blender instructional videos to learn Blender quickly. The narrator in the video said a Blender developer wrote on the Blender forums, the official Blender forums. One of the creators of Blender wrote the left click will be changed to select in a future episode. It won't be right click, it'll be left click. I don't have the video or forum post, unfortunately. I watch videos sometimes and I don't think to save the video. That's what happened. I watch a lot of instructional videos, which is why I'm making one. Next, changing views in Blender is not obvious. You will be changing views quite a bit in Blender. You can change the views using the numpad. Now the numpad's the thing on the right of your keyboard, not the top, the right. Some keyboards do not have a numpad. So the numpad's the thing that kind of looks like a phone dial pad, but it's like flipped. It's the opposite way. Because phone, the one's at the top, and a numpad, the one's at the bottom. So you can change view. You can change views 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 5 does not change the view. 0 does not change the view. 5. Well, 5 is supposed to that's 5 anyway, and 0 is that, like, when you render, that's all you're gonna see. But Blender kind of shows you the outside. Like when you look on expensive cameras, you see a little video cameras, or even the regular ones you see. You know what? It looks kind of like this. So that little heightened area is all you see when you render. Okay, that was. That it doesn't matter if this is the num lock I'm hitting, the thing on the right of most keyboards. It doesn't matter if the num lock button is on. Num lock is on, as just to let you say, num lock is on if the light is on, if the LED is on, and they're usually there's some keyboards have 3 LED lights: num lock, scroll lock, and caps lock. You don't. But it doesn't matter because you can turn the num lock on and off and it works. If you don't have a numpad, you can set the top of your keyboard as the numpad. Like the 1 to 9 will function as a numpad. And this is how you do it. You make sure its input good. Emulate numpad, which I'm not doing because I have a numpad. Then you click that, you click save, you click X. And you can, with changing the views, this is the numpad's control. Yeah, it's just, you can change the views this way, and also the other one. I don't use the numpad as much. I use the clicks because it's better anyway. Because you can sit down at any computer and use the clicks, but keyboards differ from computer to computer. So the orbits are something that are really helpful. You can use the middle mouse to orbit around, but I don't actually use my mouse. I kind of disable the middle mouse. So some people holding the middle mouse, now not scroll up and down, it's called mouse button 3. If you press the third button in, it's called the middle mouse button, and you hold if you press the mouse wheel down, like into the mouse, on most mice you'll hear a click, and that's the third mouse button. Some mice have more than 2 buttons. Anyway, so that's the mouse button 3. Holding it down and moving around your mouse will rotate the view. I'm not going to do that because I can't right now. I'd have to switch mice. You can do the same thing with that orbit, the view navigation orbit, but if you want to do it that way, the reason I'm going over the view so much is because that's more than half of what you'll be doing. You have to keep switching around views as you make something. That's why I'm spending so long on this. So it's file user preferences to make it so you can have that third mouse click, and then emulate mouse 3 here. So you have to emulate mouse button doesn't work with left mouse select. So you have to change it back to right and then emulate. It changes left to right click to both middle mouse and left click, or both middle mouse and right click. So that's what you do if that's the way you need to rotate. If you have to do something quickly, proper. Anyway, all right, moving on. The Wikipedia has, all right, so Blender only uses a 9-degree horizontal and 9-degree vertical, or maybe it's like a 4:3 aspect ratio, so that would be 120 by 90, or whatever. A single human eye. So we're talking like a 90 by 90. That's, do you know what I'm talking about? Like when When you see this little thing up here, that's that's a pyramid, and that's like the eyeballs here, and it's looking down here. It's hard to show in. So that's your field of view. Let's just say for it's a square. So it's 90 degrees by 90 degrees. You're looking at it's 45 degrees to the right, 40 degrees up, 45 degrees down. A human eye, a single human eye, is 145 degrees horizontal. So that's 55 degrees more, and 100 degrees vertical, which is 10 degrees more. But if you combine both eyes, you'll get 200 horizontal and 130 vertical somehow. So using Blender and trying to figure out how to do it, I mess around with a 90 by 90 degree pyramid field of view. It's disconcerting, and it could frustrate. I mean, it frustrated me initially until I realized what was happening. If you take the mass aspect ratios of current televisions, you'll get like 180 horizontal by 90 degrees vertical, which is probably why, but it's still less than the human eye. That's probably why the newer screens are like longer than they are tall. The problem with the curved screen TVs is when you curve a big screen and you keep it the same distance as the flat screen, it actually feels like it's a smaller size. But anyway, I digress. I'm getting off topic. With the new version of Blender, they have an undo feature included by default now. I don't know why it wasn't by default, and obviously it's very helpful to undo something you have done in Blender. It saves everything, so you can just keep undoing everything back to the beginning. You can figure out where the undo is, because you need the tools one. I don't know why Blender hasn't titled these windows. This is the tools window. This is like something other, and then down here something else. So to figure out where the tool shelf is, you click that and it makes the tool shelf go away. And then, all right, so this is the tool shelf, and that's where it is. And then you got to click history, and that's where it is. And then here's the undo. I don't know why it's not a huge back arrow like at the top, because everyone uses undo so much. Anyway, as I said, I had a problem saving in Blender. There are different ways to save. Like, if you save, you want to come back to this exact point, whatever you're doing. Like, say I do this, I delete the cube. I hit the delete button, and that popped up, and then I left click delete. So it deleted the cube. Say I want to save that. I can bring it back. That's a different way than saving like a picture. If I want to save, if I want to render it and save it. If I want to make a picture of it or a video of it. So there's different ways to save things. And they're like, it's not just save and export. It's more complicated. All right. So when you're first starting, it's very easy to say if you don't mess up your user interface. There's a way to bring back the user interface. You just do save as, and then it'll save as a Blender file. And this is how to bring. See, you see, I have a few things saved. These are my web series. The thing you actually just saw in the beginning. That's what that is. Yeah, load one up, show you. Or not. Anyway. I'm not going to worry about that now. Let me close and reopen Blender. But yeah, that's it does work. But don't think like the export feature is what you use to create a picture, because that's not what export is. Export's for the mesh. The DAE being the most popular one. Anyway, which I mean I've done that. I did that. I'm familiar with that, but I'm not going to cover it. So when you save, say you mess the user interface up, you're working on a project. Cancel. You're working on say I mess it up. I mess up the user interface. I'm not going to do it. Just assume I mess up the user interface. I drag these things around, which is very easy to do in Blender. And I'm working on something, and I want to keep what I'm working on, but I want to bring back the user interface back to here. So what you do is you save it, then you open. Assume I saved it. And then I click on whatever I saved. And then instead of load UI, I unselect that and I load it. So I unselect it and then I load it. Double click or open Blender file. Right. So that'll load it back and you'll get what you're working on, but the user interface will be back to the default. Like this. I know how to fix this, but let's assume I don't. So I'm gonna save, and I'm gonna go that happens. Episode 2, because I don't know how to fix that. Assume I don't know how to fix that. So I'm saving Blender file, and then I'm going File, Open. I didn't actually mean that's a good example. So I unclick that, Episode 2 Blend, and I bring. Well, it does work. This is like the worst, because it should have worked. Okay, so I'm loading UI. I got to close it actually. I've done it. I know it works. All right. So File, Open, Load UI. Oh, it's not the UI. Yeah, see there it worked. You just have to close. So obviously you have to close Blender and then open it to fix that. I don't know why. Again, I don't know why it just doesn't fix it. You know, you shouldn't have to close it. Yeah, you shouldn't have to do that. Most people wouldn't know to do that. All right. So here's let's go back. Let's move on and start actually making things quickly. Here's a brief overview of the most common of a common shape. The most common things to use in Blender. You go to Add. Make sure you're in object mode. I guess there is no well. If you have shapes, there will be an edit mode. You want to be in object mode. You want to have everything default. So you go and you can delete that because that's you probably anyway. So add mesh. And let's do a cylinder. Something different than the beginning. So you can scale this, and probably a good idea to drag this right window out, because Blender just hides this stuff. See these icons? There's no automatic. Okay, so I guess, no, that only does it up here. There's no automatic scroll down here, so these just go away. You see, like, these are hidden. You know what I mean? Like, there's extra icons here, and this only scrolls up here. There's no automatic scroll wheel. Anyway, so a lot of things in Blender are wrong. We established that. I should write to Blender, but I'm sure they know what they're doing. All right, I don't think they care is the point for free software. Anyway, so you can add color or texture to the shape. I am not a master at Blender yet. So this, let me change, first let me change this, show you how to change scale. Transform, this is, this is to move it, or you can left click the arrowhead and then drag. So you can left click the arrowhead and actually moves it there. You could go back to 0 here. And this brings it back to the middle scale. Let's make it, let's do that. I'm hitting 2 and then pressing enter. You could alternatively click somewhere else instead of press enter. It does the same thing. So you can add textures and colors. Let's do colors first because it's easier. Go up to here. See, it's the circle. So you click on that, click on new. You have to do 2 things to add color. Now this is not this. This is just... This is not exactly what you... This is not a render, okay? So this is not a render of this, just let you know. You might think that. It's not. It's a template that shows you what you're doing to your scene. You can pretty much ignore that. Let's even close that. All right. So what you do is you go down to Shading, Effect, Emit. It's Shading, Emit. And I again, this might not be the best way to do it if you're doing animation. Between 1 and 5 emit is a good idea. I don't know why it's... I do know why it's by default, because you're supposed to have a light source, but anyway. So 1 emit, see the thing got brighter, and now it'll actually show up when you render it. If it starts at 0, it doesn't show up unless you actually have a light source. Because like walking into a dark room. But this is an easy way to do it. Everything emits light that you want to see. And it doesn't really affect... It's an easy way to do it. So you left click on the graphical area and the numpad 0 or the view 0. So you're going to look through what the camera sees. You hit 0. And it's centered. You can actually see it. All right, so you hit 0 again, it goes back to the original numpad 0. And then you click on the camera and click render. So you click on the camera up here on the right window. Again, if the all right. So you click render. And that's all you have right now. Oh wait, let's get the color. So left click on the window and escape to bring it back. The escape key at the top left of your keyboard. And then you're gonna change the color. You're gonna change to a diffuse, I guess. And then let's do green. Okay. So then we have a render. That doesn't matter where that is. That's when you click around on the screen, right click, left click. Anyway, so you click this render and now it's green. Great. Okay. So you left click escape. Okay, so we have a green texture, and I left clicked because I'm selecting that. Alright, so we have that. Let's change it back. So that's how you add color. Let's change it back to white. You can click on the middle, but I'm going to do it this way because it'll get exactly white or black. Alright, so 111 RGB. Yeah, I'm not going to explain that now. All right, so it's pretty obvious. You'll figure it out if you need to. So we're doing a texture now. So you click on the thing to the right of the circle. Again, if you don't see what I see, reset your user interface. If you don't see what I see and that doesn't work, reinstall Blender. You shouldn't have to do that though. Click on new. You resetting the user interface does it all. All right, so this is the texture, and you click on new, and then you scroll down. It's under the image tab. Click open. I know I'm going fast. Some people watching this are only looking for certain things. That's why I'm going kind of quickly. I don't like it when I watch videos and they go quickly over things. But I'm trying not to go too quickly, so people who actually want to follow everything can. So all right, so we're looking for any these are all the things I use. Not all these I use. These are things I was testing when I did the episode. Let's do the moon picture. That was the one I used for the moon. You know, when I was doing the CGI, that was one of the moon textures. So you added the moon texture. You can see it here. You can render, and yes, it's because you gotta mess with it to make it look like a moon. You know what I mean? It's not. This is not easy stuff. This is CGI. That's why people get paid. Remember in I guess the first Clash of the Titans movie, that big Kraken. It was like $1 billion or 100 million, whatever it was, 100 million just to do a 90-second scene because CGI is hard. That's why I was doing the basic stuff. That even took a while. All right. So here, if you want to save the picture, so all we're doing is saving this, so you can actually look at it later. So you want to save the picture. I suggest JPEG format, JPG. AVI is the best video for a few reasons. It's the smallest file size is the main one. JPG, same reason. It's the smallest file size, most popular, same as AVI. JPG. I should have gotten the JPG Wikipedia. Anyway, so you have to render it first, okay? All right, so we rendered it first. Now we're in the, so you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tabs. I'll use one. We don't use that often. It's easy to get back. So right now we're in the outliner tab. Let's change it to the UV image editor. We're going to go back to the outliner tab. So we're in the UV image editor. Okay. We just choose one of these tabs because we don't really want to do this one. It's hard to get back for some reason. All right, it's not hard, but it might be hard for some people. And remember, you have to render it first. So we rendered it. So render. Whoops. Darn it. So let's do the undo because that's easy. I don't know why the undo isn't at the top. So I just undo. All right. So that didn't work. Anyway, so let's just move on. See how difficult Blender is. So you go to image, and we go new image. If you don't have save as image, you got to go new image. If you do have save as image, you can just you do new image first, and then the next time you click image, it'll be save as image. We already have a new image for some reason, probably because I was doing this before I did the video. So let's save as image. And now it'll say save as image up here. It's the same save thing. This is how you save the picture. You know what I mean? Like, we save Blender, it'll bring Blender back, but this is going to save the picture we just made as a picture. Because when you save a Blender file, it's not a picture. When you save a picture, it's not a Blender file. It's not like a music file where you can just open the music file back again. Okay? Because they separate the Alright, so you save as an image. Let's save it as JPEG is best, but alright, so we should do JPEG, just to show not the 2000, the normal one. And then the quality, I don't know why it's not 100%, but we'll change it to 100%. And then we'll do it'll be .jpg. It doesn't matter if you forget to put the extension, the metadata in the beginning of the file, or open it up as a JPEG. It'll know it's a JPEG. So you can do episode 2 JPEG, and wherever we save that. And then to show you, is it here? Do we save it here? I think it's on the desktop. I saved episode 2 JPEG. Did I save it here? Wait, where did I save it? Because I want to show you can open it up on save as image, and it's in web series. So it's in the web series folder. It saved it. And it's episode 2. Here it is. Blender file. But we're looking for... Well, anyway. So, it should have been here somewhere. Where did I save it? Save as image. Oh, maybe I should have... It didn't save it for some reason. Oh, a JPEG, right. Should have done the web series. And you do JPEG. And I didn't save it. Hold on. To save as image. I pressed enter last time. Let me click, see if that did it. Ep2, here it is. I don't know why it didn't work last time. Alright, so you double click on that. It didn't know the extension, but it opens in your default picture editor for that extension. Whatever, so this is all we had. I know it's gray on gray, you can put a background and stuff. Alright, let's move on in the image, in the interest of time. So we have everything pretty much. I just want to cover one more thing, three-dimensional text, because that's one of the things people use a lot in Blender. Left click, edit, delete. Let me just redo this. I don't need to use this. I'm going to close open Blender. So what we're doing is we're adding three-dimensional text like you saw I did with Leck Tech. You can do a lot with that stuff too. Alright, let's get rid of that. Alright. So, now you have to be in object mode again, not edit mode. The default settings are good. Then you go add, and then text. You see add text? This is by far the fastest and best way to do add three-dimensional text. This is actually relatively easy compared to the other stuff in Blender. Alright, so remember you got to do exactly what I do, or it might confuse new people. So all I did was the click add text, and that's left clicks. Changed it's already selected, so you didn't deselect it, and you changed to edit mode. There's the edit mode. When you have objects, when you select object, there's an edit mode. When you select objects in the three-dimensional view here, there's an edit mode. So you select edit mode. I didn't touch anything. I just selected the edit mode. I clicked, click. So then the backspace key, not the delete key. See, it's like a word processor. It deleted the text there. So you want to add text. Let's say this is a test. Just keep it short, and then enter. Because this is a Linux-based product, and it started on Linux, and it's actually Linux. The actual creator of Linux. A friend told me you talked to him and said it's not actually pronounced Linux, but everyone calls it Linux, so we're going to call it Linux. So this is a test, is that, and again, just press enter, because all Linux type the enter key is how you select things. It's the default to select if you don't know how to input something in Linux software. You change back to object mode. So we're still in edit mode. We change back to object mode. And then Blender considers this text a single object. It's very similar to a cube. For all intents and purposes, Blender considers this the same as a cube. So don't think it's all complicated or anything. Blender will just treat it like a cube or any simple object. So you can rotate. We're going to use this is the best way to rotate. So we're going to remember how to rotate. We did that. Click the cube. Then we're going to rotate this. Rotate it by 90 degrees. Remember, it's 360 degrees. All right, that did it correctly. It's standing up now. You can make it bigger. 2, 2, 2. I was 2 tab, 2 tab, 2. All right. So this is a test, and then we'll move that to the middle. I clicked on the arrowheads and I drug it a direction. That's all I did. Okay. Click, drag, release, click. So you're rotating it. It's backwards, but it's fine for our video. Oh, it is forwards. Okay. Maybe a little more over so it's in the middle. All right. So after you do this, you want to click. There's one more thing you have to do. This text has no depth. It doesn't have depth yet. It's just two-dimensional text on a plane, like on a page. So you click on the F up here. Remember, you got to pull this out if you don't see the F, because Blender doesn't automatically add the scroll wheel. So you click on the, again, honestly, Blender thinks the Linux-based products, which is what this is originally, they use the graphical stuff secondary. That's why a lot of this stuff isn't, but that doesn't make sense because of all the other stuff. So anyway, I think the developers don't care more about, anyway, I don't think they're really focusing on the user interface. So to extrude is how you make depth. You scroll down until you see geometry. Right, geometry in the right, and then all right. So basically, the text has to be selected. So if the text isn't selected, you have to right click or left click in the middle here. You can't unselect it because you got to anyway. So the extrude. Here's the extrude. So it's 0.0. Let's just do 1. See what that does. That's too far, obviously. All right, so I guess 1's too much. Let's do 0.1. All right, that's better. So you have 0.1 text as a test. You can make it emit light so it shows up when you render it. Again, most people use a light source and increase it, but this is just easier. So let's do emit 2. White's fine for now, because it'll show up on the gray background. And then we render, and you can do the same thing and save. So yes, it'll you have to do like shadows and stuff to see that. Again, CGI is complicated, but that's you have to look at a different angle to see. All right, so you get the idea here. You got the idea for Blender. Thank you for watching. That's all for now. You may visit my website for more current information on if you want to look for new videos and see what I might be doing next. I haven't 100% decided what I'm doing next video, so I'm not going to say what I think I'm going to do next. If you go to the video, here, I'll show you this. This is the last thing I'm showing you because I'm not going to go through this kind of things every episode. But as the episodes get newer, I'm going to go over less of this. All right, so say you're watching my first video, Artificial Intelligence. I have not uploaded this one yet because I'm making it right now. I click on that, I go down and I click on Leck Tech. It's actually a hyperlink here. You click on that and it comes back to the main channel, and this will pop. Obviously, if you're watching it, you'll see this one here. All right. I'm making a point to organize my videos on my channels. So if you want to watch, like for example, all of the Blender videos, you'll be able to watch them in order instead, because I jump around topics. So I'm going to organize them on YouTube to make it easy, because I am planning on doing a lot of videos. You may leave a comment on YouTube or contact me directly to offer feedback. YouTube's easy to figure out. You have to have a YouTube account. To contact me directly is on this page. You can use Facebook, Twitter, G+, Steam, and I have a few others, or you can contact me directly with email, text. I actually show every. So yeah, contact me directly, offer me feedback, criticism, critique, praise, anything. And tune in for next episode. Thank you for watching Leck Tech.